Alright, welcome to the next tutorial of my cheat engine series. And in the last series we talked a little bit about um, types and the type of values or value types, I guess, however you want to pronounce it. There's a whole vernacular which I'm doing no justice right now about how to refer to values that have a specific type. It's especially tricky when you start juggling different languages in there. Dynamic languages, static typing, dynamic. I mean, it gets real complicated real quick. Um, so again, I've sort of neatly sidestepped that by directing everybody to a Wikipedia page in the last video. And if you haven't sort of figured it all out, um, by the tail end of that video and reading the Wikipedia page, then this may not make any sense to you. But that's hardly my fault at this point. I've shown you where to go, and if you don't go there, then I don't know what to tell you. So we're just going to assume at this point um, that you're familiar with three basic types of values, and the first is the 4-byte integer, or the standard integer as it might be called. Um, it's 4 bytes, but I mean it kind of varies. I mean, depending on the platform, if you're 32-bit, then it's 4 bytes. If you're 64-bit, then the actual standard integer, might not be 4 bits, or I'm sorry, 4 bytes. But for the time being, we're just gonna assume, again, absolute simplicity's sake. I don't care about technical details. We're just gonna assume that all integers are 4 bytes, regardless of the architecture of the platform. So even 64-bit integers are 4 bytes. I don't care. So again, simplicity. I just want to make it as easy as possible. And when you're dealing with bytes and values and types and shit, I mean it's never as easy as it could be. So to sort of do ourselves a favor, we're going to assume that all integers are 4 bytes, regardless of the architecture of the platform. Um, as you noticed, I've changed my wallpaper a little bit on a somewhat side note, so just don't stare at this region. I'm sorry, what? Oh yeah, no, I mean don't stare at that region. So we're gonna talk, or we're gonna deal more with types, and the second type, besides the 4-byte integer, the second type we're gonna deal with is the string. Um, a string is just text. So if you want it for whatever reason, you attach cheat engine to a process, you want to find the name of your character. The name of your character is some stuff. Literally, it's just some stuff, all lowercase. So you would tell cheat engine, hey, I want to search for the string of some stuff, and it would go through all the values in memory, and it would find um, any value that was a string that matched some stuff. Now, again, there's obviously subtlety involved there, but we don't care about any of that. We're just talking purely abstract basis. And then the third type is float or double. Um, the difference between float and double is somewhat subtle. Um, it's I mean it's obvious if you deal with that kind of stuff on a regular basis, and I'm sure I'll get shit for it, but basically the difference is the amount of data that it can store after the basically in the remainder. So I mean a float could be 3.14777777, whereby a double could be 3.147777, for a ridiculous amount of time on out into nothingness. But that essentially they're the same thing. They're decimal values, um, or floating point values if you want to be more technical about it. Um, I don't. I'm not going to distinguish between the two because it's just easier, generically speaking, to refer to all of them as floats. So I'm going to do that from here on out, and unless it's absolutely necessary in a technical sense, then I'll say, hey, this is a double, not a float. But if anybody has a problem with the fact that I'm calling doubles floats, then I would just you can make your own video and you can deal with it from there. But for our intents and purposes, doubles are floats and floats are doubles, and I don't give a shit about the difference, and neither do we for the purposes of the video. So that's what I would say about that. That being said, in the next video, we'll fire up Cheat Engine here, and we'll load up a game, the game that I'm actually going to be using for the rest of the series. And it's a bit of a tricky game. You know, it uses mono and just-in-time compilation and other tricks. So I mean, you can't do like standard pointer. You can kind of do pointer searches and things like that, and all the standard methods, but it's a little tricky. But it'll it's enough to where we can all enjoy it, and we can hopefully learn something. And frankly, I haven't figured it all out yet. So maybe me going through it all, will maybe and putting up videos and whatnot. That'll not just help me, but everyone else out there, and maybe someone will smile down and tell me what I'm doing wrong as far as some of the advanced code injection stuff, um, as to why it's not working. But we'll get to that in good time. So in the next video, we'll load up Cheat Engine, we'll load up the game, and we'll get started with some actually useful stuff, that people are probably more interested in rather than me talking um, forever about insane things that perhaps nobody cares about.